I mean, to cut to the chase in terms of kind of handicapping this thing, like, do you think it's going to work? And I guess that would mean, by definition, I'm talking about, Philly being in the finals, something on of that level. Do you think it's going to work?
Well, I mean, pretty much every point we were, Rich was just discussing, and it also depended on Harden. Like, just how does he look? How is he playing? What condition is he in? Can he physically stay healthy enough? Because remember, he went to Brooklyn last season, and it did go well. He was like in the MVP conversation when KD had to miss a bunch of time because he got himself in shape. And he was basically coming in the same situation from Houston, right? Remember the conditioning issues he was having there? It took him, maybe 1-2 weeks, and he looked like his old self. So, and part of that was because Durant was off the court. I think Kyrie was in and out of the lineup at that point, and he kind of got to play James Harden basketball. So it's going to be a different environment. You mentioned, were they like posting Dwight Howard in Houston? Like, for some reason, it's like hard for me to even remember the Dwight Howard, Harden era. But like, was Dwight a featured offensive player still then?
He wanted to be more. Yeah, no, I mean, when he went there, it was a 1-2 combo. I mean, Dwight was trying to salvage what hadn't worked with the Lakers, but he still saw himself as, a big time featured free agent big, and wanted to be down on the block. I mean, you know how it is. The earlier first half of Dwight's career, he wanted to be like Shaq, and he just wasn't. But James wanted him to basically be Clint Capella, which is why Dwight eventually lost his job to Clint Capella.
So, I mean, you're almost, to me, it's very, it's opposite what's about to happen here, where James is the more aged, offensive piece, and like Embiid's probably the more efficient hub at this point. And not that Embiid wants James Harden to turn into, Seth Curry basically or something, but it's James Harden basically took that situation over, and it made sense at the time, right? Like, yeah, you should just like play James Harden basketball, and like Dwight Howard should just kind of be like a rim running, like rebounder. That's not what Joel Embiid should be. So they got to figure that concoction out, but also like James Harden, I mean, he mentioned it, he's got to play good basketball, and like that solves a lot of issues and alleviates a lot of pressure. It makes Daryl Morey look good for holding off for the trade. It would make Doc Rivers not feel like he's on the hot seat. It would probably allow James Harden to live how he wants to live, right? Part of the reason he could do that in Houston is because of how well he was playing. You lose grip of that power if you don't play well, and especially in Philadelphia. That's the other, aspect of all this. The weird thing about Brooklyn, they don't have a rabid fan base. Like, while this is all going down, he wasn't feeling the pressure that like clearly sent Ben Simmons out of town. And maybe Ben Simmons will enjoy that aspect of the Brooklyn fan base, but Phil, James Harden, they're gonna probably give him a standing ovation when he's announced in starting lineups the first time. But 2 weeks from now, if he's struggling, what that Philly market is going to do.
So the East is loaded. We know as much. You know what I mean? So let's try to kind of keep looking at the Sixers through the filter of the rest of the East. I'm looking at it here, and as we record on Monday, I feel like we say this every year, maybe got some recency bias, but to be this late in the season and have, in either conference, and have 5 teams separated by 2.5 games, like they are in the East. You got Miami up top right now. The Bulls 1 game back. The Cavs 2 games back. The Bucks also 2 games back. The Sixers 2.5. The Celtics, who have obviously been on a roll lately, won 9 of their last 10, are 4.5 back. And even the Raptors, I should just go all the way to the 7th spot. You're talking 5 games to get all the way down to Toronto, and then there's your Brooklyn Nets.
Toronto's 5 games back of the 1, and they're the 7th seed in the East. Memphis is 7 back. That's 2 more games back, and they're the 3rd seed in the West.
Right.
I mean, the Warriors are at 2. They're 4.5 back.
Yeah.
So the Warriors are basically as far away from Phoenix at the 2 as Boston is, of the 1 seed, and they're at the 6 right now.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's clumped. But generally,
post trade deadline, who jumps out at you? The Bucks kind of under the radar, adding Serge Ibaka, I think is helpful. The Brook Lopez thing obviously has been an issue all year long and is still not clear, but Serge has actually looked pretty good recently, and I think he's going to help. The Cavs, obviously, surprise story of the season. The Bulls now dealing with a Zach LaVine injury. that is going to set them back a bit. But who's running the East in this post trade deadline landscape if you're handicapping it?
I think Milwaukee is the known commodity. They'd probably be my slight favorite just because, to me, in a playoff setting, we know what they're going to be, essentially. I mean, obviously, they do have to figure out, can they get anything from Brook Lopez and what can Ibaka give them? But they're known. I need to see Harden and Embiid on the court before we know like what kind of playoff threat they're going to be. And then, probably even weirder is going to be the mix in Brooklyn. And how does that actually look like on the court? What does it look like on the court, I should say? But I think those are my three. And then I'd probably have Miami, right under there. Because I don't think Miami's ceiling is quite what Brooklyn and Philadelphia's ceiling could be, but we just haven't seen it yet. And then beyond that, like I think Cleveland's still a player away and probably a year or two away. Chicago, nice story. I don't consider them in that top tier. Boston's probably been the hottest team in the league lately, but I not in the tier of the top three that I would consider.
Yeah, I mean, Boston, I love, what's got me kind of re-energized is these second half storylines. And obviously it's not second half. We're 2/3 of the way in. But the stuff that is going to get your curiosity, piqued even more than before because things have changed. And the Celtics getting Derek White, Ime Udoka figuring things out as a coach, that actually becoming, that group becoming a good squad again. When we, for years now, we've been wondering Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, do they keep it together? What do they do? I like the Derek White addition. And even though offensively they're going to continue to be ISO heavy and not that much fun to watch, at least in terms of, the beautiful Warrior style ball movement.
Not even Jason Tatum's kid is trying to watch Jason Tatum. You see that? From
no,
yesterday?
What'd I miss?
Oh, you got to go online. People were loving it. Tatum scoring 34. He had a great game. It was that before the Super Bowl, like ABC morning game.
Yeah.
And Tatum, hits a 3 in the mid fourth to have 34. He's having this great second half. And they pan to his kid sitting courtside, and he's like, watching something on his phone, probably watching like a cartoon or something. He's not even paying attention.
Listen, man, as a
he
father
don't like
of
ISO
15
ball.
and 12
He don't like
year old,
ISO ball.
That's just 2022. That's all that is.
Yeah, true.
I could be doing jumping jacks in front of my kids and they wouldn't look up. Yeah, I mean, here on my side with the East, I'm with you 100%. If you're just saying, which squad do you feel most comfortable rolling with? I mean, those Bucks, man, they're special. And I still have fresh memories of covering them in the championship run. So, I'm probably going with the Bucks. But from there, it's a crapshoot.